Hello and welcome. I'm Mr. Luis, and today we'll be exploring observations as a key research method in psychology. In this video, we'll dive into the different types of observational studies, the methods used in these studies, and their strengths and weaknesses. Whether it's watching participants in their natural environment or in a controlled setting, observations give us invaluable insights into human and animal behavior. Let's get started. What is an observation? Observations involve watching human or animal participants in order to gather data on their behavior. Researchers make an important choice at the start of the study how the observation will be conducted. There are many different types of observational methods in psychology, and each has its strengths, depending on the research question. For example, an unobtrusive observation might take place in a natural setting where the researcher does not interfere with the participants. Alternatively, a controlled observation involves manipulating certain factors in the environment to examine specific behaviors under different conditions. Types of observations. Naturalistic observation. A naturalistic observation takes place in the participant's natural environment with minimal interference from the researcher. The goal is to observe authentic behavior free from any artificial constraints, for example, watching children in a playground or observing wildlife in their natural habitat. While these observations have the advantage of being realistic, the challenge is that researchers cannot control the environment, which might introduce uncontrolled variables that could affect the behavior being studied. Controlled observation. In a controlled observation, the researcher manipulates the environment or conditions in some way to study the behavior under specific circumstances. This might involve changing the setting, such as providing different objects or altering the environment, or varying the social environment, like changing the group size or adding a model. Controlled observations allow researchers to have more control over the variables, but the behavior may not reflect how people would act in a real-life situation, making it potentially less ecologically valid. Unstructured versus structured observations. Unstructured observation. The researcher records a broad range of behaviors, often during the pilot phase of a study. While this provides rich data, it can be difficult to analyze as it lacks focus. Structured observation. This involves focusing on a specific set of behaviors that are clearly defined and categorized. It makes the analysis of data more straightforward, but can miss out on other behaviors that might be important. The role of the observer. The role of the observer is a key consideration in the observational study design. Overt observer. In overt observation, it's clear that the person is an observer. For example, the researcher may be taking notes or using a visible camera. Covert observer. In covert observation, the observer is hidden from the participants, meaning they don't know they are being watched. This increases validity because participants' behaviors are less likely to be influenced by social desirability or demand characteristics. However, while covert observation can yield more natural behaviors, it raises ethical concerns about informed consent and privacy. Evaluating observations. There are several strengths and weaknesses to consider when using observations in psychology. Strengths: high ecological validity. Naturalistic observations provide insights into behaviors in real-world settings, offering greater ecological validity. Rich data. Observational studies can provide detailed, qualitative data, especially in naturalistic settings. Weaknesses: observer bias. The researcher may unintentionally influence the results, particularly in participant observations, where the researcher may become involved in the setting. Lack of control. In naturalistic observations, the researcher has little to no control over variables, which can make it difficult to establish clear cause and effect relationships. Ethical concerns. Especially with covert observations, there are concerns about deception, privacy, and whether participants give informed consent to being studied. Planning an observation study. When planning an observational study, the researcher must make several key decisions. What will be observed? This could include specific behaviors or general patterns of activity. Where will the observation take place? Deciding between a naturalistic or controlled setting. Who will be observed? Will it be a participant observer actively engaging with the group, or a non-participant observer watching from a distance, it's essential to consider ethical factors such as informed consent and confidentiality. Researchers should also think about how to avoid demand characteristics and ensure their findings are reliable and valid. Example, Dr. Huang's study. In an example, Dr. Huang is conducting an observational study to see if students detect each other's emotions in a common room at lunchtime. She uses a non-participant observer role and employs a structured observation to ensure reliability. Dr. Huang also uses inter-observer reliability by having another researcher record the same behaviors and compare notes. This example shows how an observation study can be designed to reduce bias, increase reliability, and ensure ethical standards are met. Applying your knowledge of observations to novel research. Now that you understand how to design and evaluate observations, you should be able to apply this knowledge to new research situations. For example, you might be asked to evaluate the best observational method for studying the behavior of children in a park, or to assess how well researchers can measure behaviors such as aggression in a school setting. You will also need to be able to explain how observational data can complement other research methods such as experiments or case studies. Observations are a powerful research method in psychology, allowing us to study behavior in both natural and controlled environments. Whether through naturalistic or controlled observations, these studies provide us with valuable insights into human and animal behavior. However, they come with certain limitations, particularly regarding control over variables and ethical concerns. As we move forward, understanding how to conduct and evaluate observations will help you in both your studies and future research endeavors. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more in-depth psychology topics.